6 years. That is how long it took me to scrape together enough money for a down payment on my house. 6 years of grinding 12-hour shifts as a software engineer in Denver, brown bagging lunches, living in a cramped studio apartment, saying no to trips with friends. When I finally held those keys in my hand and walked into that 2-story home with a master bedroom featuring a balcony overlooking the Rocky Mountains, I felt like I had won the lottery. This place was mine. Every square foot represented sacrifice and determination. Then my parents arrived last weekend with a request that made my blood run cold. They expected me to surrender my master bedroom to my younger brother Dylan. Before I get into the full story, I would love to know where you are tuning in from. Leave your location in the comments. If you are curious about how this played out, go ahead and smash that like button and subscribe. You will definitely want to stick around for what comes next. The truth is, Dylan has always gotten special treatment in our family. When we were growing up, the difference was obvious to everyone except my parents. Dylan received brand new toys every Christmas, while I got hand-me-downs from cousins. When Dylan expressed interest in learning piano, my folks enrolled him in weekly lessons with an expensive instructor. When I mentioned wanting to learn guitar, my dad told me I should get a part-time job and pay for lessons myself. Dylan attended a prestigious private academy with small classes and personal tutors. I walked to the overcrowded public school down the street and learned to fend for myself. My parents always had justifications ready. Dylan is 3 years younger than you, they would explain. He requires extra attention. You are the oldest Maxwell. You have always been independent and capable. We trust you to handle things on your own. I accepted this logic. Part of me even felt proud to be seen as the responsible one, so I stopped complaining. I took jobs at grocery stores during high school to cover my expenses. I applied for scholarships and took out student loans to pay for college. I drove a rusty pickup truck, while Dylan cruised around in a sedan. My parents bought him for his 18th birthday. Dylan coasted through his 20s on our parents' financial backing. They covered every cent of his tuition at an expensive private university where he majored in marketing. They paid his car insurance. They subsidized his apartment rent for the first few years after graduation while he searched for his ideal career path. But Dylan could never seem to settle anywhere. He bounced from company to company, rarely lasting beyond 6 or 7 months. Each time he quit or got fired, he had elaborate explanations. His supervisor was incompetent. The corporate environment was stifling. His talents were not being recognized. My parents listened sympathetically and assured him something better would materialize soon. By age 29, Dylan had cycled through 5 different jobs. His most recent position was with a tech startup doing social media marketing. According to Dylan, management was chaotic, and they blamed him for their own failures. According to my parents, poor Dylan was enduring another unfair situation and deserved compassion. That is when my phone rang on a Wednesday evening. My mom asked if they could drive out to see me that coming Saturday. I was thrilled. We had not spent quality time together in months, and I was eager to show off the house I had poured my savings into. Saturday morning came and I watched from my front window as their car pulled up. My chest tightened when Dylan climbed out of the back seat. Nobody had mentioned he would be joining them. I plastered on a welcoming smile and invited everyone inside. The house tour started smoothly. My mom could not stop raving about the granite countertops in the kitchen. My dad complimented the vaulted ceilings and the natural light pouring through the windows. When we climbed the stairs to the master bedroom, my mom stepped onto the balcony and gasped at the view of snow-capped peaks in the distance. She told me it was the loveliest bedroom she had ever laid eyes on. Pride swelled in my chest. This accomplishment was entirely mine. We headed back downstairs for lunch. I had put together a spread of deli sandwiches, pasta salad, and fresh fruit. We settled around the dining table exchanging pleasantries. Then my dad put down his sandwich and locked eyes with me. His expression turned serious. "Maxwell," he began, "there is something we need to discuss. Dylan has hit a rough patch. He got let go from his job a couple weeks back, and he is having trouble covering rent. We were hoping you might let him crash here temporarily, while he figures out his next move. I set my fork down carefully, considering the request. Having Dylan stay with me was not ideal, but he was family. I could manage it for a short period. Okay, I said slowly. The guest bedroom downstairs should work. It has a comfortable bed and a closet. That ought to be fine for a few months. My mom frowned immediately. That room does not have an attached bathroom, she pointed out. Dylan would need to use the hallway bathroom. That seems inconvenient. I blinked at her, confused. The guest bedroom was perfectly adequate for temporary lodging. My dad leaned back in his chair and dropped the bombshell. What if Dylan takes the master bedroom instead? It has more space, a private bathroom, and that calming mountain view. Dylan is dealing with a lot of stress right now. He needs an environment where he can decompress and get his head straight. You could use the guest room for a while. It is really not that big of an ask. I sat there stunned, certain I had misheard, but their faces showed zero indication of joking. My own parents were genuinely suggesting I vacate my bedroom in my own house so my brother could occupy the best room. I took a breath and kept my tone measured. This is my home, I said. I worked hard to afford it. The master bedroom is my private retreat. Dylan is welcome to the guest room, but I am not relocating out of my own bedroom. My mom's face tightened. Are you hearing yourself right now? She snapped. Your brother is struggling, and you have a stable income, and this beautiful house. The least you can do is make him comfortable for a little while. I shook my head firmly. I am offering him a place to live, I replied. That is already generous. But my bedroom is off limits. My dad's face flushed red. So your possessions matter more than your own flesh and blood, he shot back. You have turned into someone I barely recognize. Success has made you cold. I could barely process what was happening. My parents were branding me selfish for refusing to give up my own bedroom in my own house. The atmosphere around the table felt suffocating. Dylan had remained silent throughout the entire exchange. Finally, he spoke up, his voice dripping with fake vulnerability. If this is going to cause problems, I can find somewhere else to go. I do not want to create conflict. He stared down at his plate, the picture of wounded innocence. My parents immediately rallied to his defense. Look at what you are doing to him, my mom said, her voice shaking. You are making your own brother feel like a burden. My dad looked at me with disappointment etched across his face. I thought I raised you better than this, he muttered. I attempted to clarify my position, but they had already tuned me out. The remainder of lunch passed in tense silence. When my parents prepared to leave that evening, the air felt thick with resentment. Dylan announced he would sleep on the couch just for one night and start apartment hunting the following day. I reluctantly agreed, hoping he would honor his word. The next day arrived, and Dylan made no move to leave. He transferred his belongings into the guest room without consulting me. When I returned from the office, I discovered him sprawled across my living room couch, with sports highlights blaring from the television. I asked whether he had made any progress finding alternative housing. He gave a vague shrug and mumbled something about still weighing his options. Throughout the following days, Dylan inserted himself deeper into my space, in ways I had never authorized. He abandoned dirty plates and cups on every surface. He took marathon showers that drained the water heater completely. He brought over friends unannounced and kept them entertained late into the night. Within a week, my phone became a hotline for family lectures. My dad called to deliver speeches about familial duty. My mom called crying, claiming I was shattering her heart. Then extended family members started dialing my number. My parents had spread their version of events, portraying me as the cruel older brother who refused to accommodate Dylan during his moment of need. One aunt actually used the word heartless to describe me. She said I should be ashamed for having such a spacious house, yet denying Dylan the nicest room. I tried explaining my side, but nobody cared to listen. They had formed their opinions. Dylan continued testing boundaries. On a Friday evening, he hosted a gathering without giving me any warning. I came home exhausted from work to find half a dozen people crowding my living room, loud music pulsing through the walls, empty bottles scattered across my furniture. I asked Dylan to lower the volume. He just laughed and waved me off. "Come on, relax a little," he said. "We are just unwinding." They finally cleared out around 2:30 in the morning. I got maybe 3 hours of sleep. The following morning, I confronted him directly. I explained that this was my residence, and he needed to show some respect for my rules. He rolled his eyes dismissively. "You would not even give me the decent room," he retorted. "So I am making the best of a bad situation." His sense of entitlement was breathtaking. I realized that no amount of reasoning would get through to Dylan. In his mind, I existed to serve his needs, and my parents were backing him up at every turn. 2 weeks into Dylan living with me, I had to travel for a work conference in San Francisco. I explicitly told Dylan not to enter my master bedroom or touch any of my personal items. He nodded and claimed he understood perfectly. But when I walked through my front door on Thursday afternoon, something felt off immediately. I climbed the stairs and my stomach dropped. The door to my master bedroom stood wide open. My pulse quickened. I stepped inside and discovered my possessions had been relocated. My clothing was dumped in a messy heap in the hallway. My collection of books was stacked carelessly near the top of the stairs. And there in the center of my bedroom sat Dylan's duffel bag. I thundered back downstairs and found Dylan stretched out on the couch watching a game show. "What did you do?" I demanded, barely controlling my fury. He glanced up casually. "Oh, right," he said without a hint of remorse. "I moved into your room while you were out of town. The guest room gets too much noise from the street. I needed better rest." Disbelief washed over me. "You had absolutely no right," I said, my voice trembling with rage. Dylan shrugged carelessly. "Mom and Dad told me it was fine. They gave me that spare key you left with them for emergencies." I immediately dialed my father, my hands shaking. He picked up after several rings. "Did you authorize Dylan to move into my bedroom?" I asked through clenched teeth. My dad let out an exasperated sigh. "Maxwell, it is just a bedroom. Dylan needed improved sleeping conditions. Stop being so dramatic about it." I felt a crushing sense of betrayal. My own parents had conspired behind my back to let Dylan invade my most personal space. They had abused the emergency key I had entrusted to them. That moment crystallized everything. If I did not take a stand right now, I would completely lose control of my own home. I ended the call and forced myself to think clearly. I contacted a buddy who practices law and explained my predicament in detail. He gave me straightforward advice. "This property belongs to you," he said firmly. "You hold complete authority over who stays and who leaves. If someone occupies your home without permission and refuses to vacate, you can require them to move out. You need no one else's consent." His words provided the validation I desperately needed. That evening, I marched upstairs to the master bedroom and knocked firmly on the door. Dylan opened it, looking irritated by the interruption. "What do you want?" he asked. I kept my voice calm but resolute. "You are moving out of this room immediately," I stated. Dylan let out a mocking laugh. "Are you kidding me right now? Call Mom and Dad if you have an issue?" I shook my head decisively. "No," I said. "This house belongs to me. I extended you an invitation to use the guest room, and you violated that agreement. Now you have two options. Move your things back downstairs, or vacate this house within the next 24 hours. Dylan's smug expression evaporated. He stared at me, finally grasping that I was dead serious. "You would actually throw me out?" he asked incredulously. I held his gaze. "If you cannot respect my home and my boundaries, then yes," I replied. Dylan snatched his phone and immediately called our parents. Less than an hour later, my mom and dad were pounding on my door, absolutely livid. They stormed into my living room, demanding I apologize to Dylan right away. "How can you treat your brother like this?" my mom screamed. My dad jabbed his finger in my direction. "If you kick Dylan out, you are no longer part of this family," he declared coldly. A sharp pain shot through my chest, but I refused to crumble. "I care about you both," I said quietly but firmly. "But I cannot allow you to dictate my life anymore." I offered Dylan a place to stay under reasonable conditions, and he took advantage of that kindness. He moved into my bedroom without asking. That crosses a line. You need to respect my boundaries. My mom dissolved into tears, accusing me of becoming someone unrecognizable and claiming wealth had corrupted my character. My dad shook his head in disgust and grabbed Dylan by the shoulder. "Let us go," he told Dylan. "We are done here." Dylan collected his belongings, shot me a venomous glare, and followed our parents out the door. The house fell silent except for the sound of my own breathing. I stood alone in my living room, adrenaline still coursing through my veins. Relief and heartbreak battled inside my chest. I had finally established a firm boundary with my family, and it had shattered their approval of me. That night, sleep refused to come. I kept replaying the confrontation, questioning whether I had handled it correctly. But in my core, I knew the answer. I could no longer tolerate being treated as someone who existed solely to meet their demands. The next morning, I contacted a locksmith and had all my locks changed. I retrieved the spare key from my parents and ensured nobody maintained unauthorized access. Over the next 2 weeks, complete silence from my mom and dad. The quiet was agonizing. My aunts and uncles continued their campaign, filling my voicemail with angry messages about what a terrible person I had become. I blocked the majority of their numbers. A handful of genuine friends checked in on me, and I shared the full story with them. Their support meant everything. One friend said something that resonated deeply. "Man, you absolutely did the right thing. Family should never treat you like a doormat." The initial weeks following the blow-up were incredibly difficult. Isolation crept in, and I wrestled with doubts about my decision. Guilt gnawed at me constantly. I wondered whether giving in might have prevented all this pain and conflict. But then, I would walk into my master bedroom, stand on that balcony gazing at the mountains, and remember exactly why I had sacrificed so much to build this life. This home represented my hard work, my achievement, my sanctuary, and I deserved to protect it. I began meeting with a therapist to process the emotional fallout. She proved to be invaluable. She helped me grasp that establishing boundaries does not equal selfishness. Instead, it reflects genuine self-respect. She explained how certain families operate with an unspoken rule that one member must perpetually sacrifice for everyone else's benefit. In my family, I had always filled that role. I was supposed to be the dependable one, the strong one, the giver who never asked for anything back. But that pattern was deeply unhealthy. It left me feeling exploited and undervalued. Therapy taught me to release the guilt. I came to understand that my parents' affection had always carried conditions. They showed love when I was useful, when I fulfilled the role they assigned me. But the instant I asserted my own needs, they withdrew that love. That was not authentic love. Real love includes respect and reciprocal understanding. My therapist encouraged me to concentrate on creating a life that brought me genuine happiness, rather than endlessly chasing my parents' approval. I immersed myself in activities that fed my soul. I began mountain biking on weekends, discovering new trails that wound through aspen groves and alpine meadows. I joined a local book club and connected with people who had zero involvement in my family dynamics. I redecorated my entire house, selecting artwork and furniture that resonated with my personal taste, rather than worrying about parental judgment. Gradually, I started feeling whole again. My house transformed into a true refuge, a space where I could exist authentically and breathe freely. 3 months after our confrontation, my dad called. His tone lacked the usual hardness, carrying an almost tentative quality. He said he wanted to meet up and talk. We agreed on a coffee shop in downtown Denver. My mom came too, appearing visibly uncomfortable. They did not offer a direct apology, but my dad said something that caught me off guard. "We have been reflecting on everything that happened," he admitted. "We still think you overreacted, but we can see now that you felt disrespected. We would like to try moving past this." I nodded slowly. "I appreciate you reaching out," I responded. "But moving forward requires real change. I need you both to honor my choices and respect my personal space. That is not unreasonable." My mom stared into her coffee, struggling to find words. "We just want our family to stay connected," she said softly. I get that, I replied, but connection cannot be built on one person's constant sacrifice. I am willing to rebuild what we had, but it has to work for everyone involved, not just Dylan. My parents nodded, though reluctance still showed on their faces. It was not a magical resolution, but it represented progress. Over subsequent months, we saw each other occasionally. The relationship had changed, carrying more distance, but also more honesty. Clear boundaries existed now, and my parents gradually learned to accept them, even if begrudgingly. As for Dylan, communication between us essentially ended. He returned to living with our parents and continued struggling to maintain steady employment. I felt sympathy for him on some level, but I also recognized that enabling his behavior would never help him mature. He needed to experience real consequences and develop personal accountability. That responsibility was not mine to shoulder. Reflecting on everything, I gained profound insight. I discovered that love devoid of respect becomes manipulation. For years, I had absorbed the message that being a good son and brother meant erasing my own needs, but that belief was fundamentally false. Healthy relationships require mutual respect from all parties. Establishing boundaries does not brand you as selfish. It acknowledges your humanity. And sometimes people who claim to love you must learn that you are not a tool to be exploited, but an individual deserving of respect. My house has become my genuine sanctuary now. Each morning, I wake up in my master bedroom, step onto the balcony, and absorb the sight of those mountains. I feel profound pride in what I have constructed, not merely the physical structure, but the life I have deliberately crafted for myself. I owe nobody unlimited access to my peace, simply because we share bloodlines. Understanding that truth has liberated me completely. To anyone facing similar family pressure, hold on to this truth. Your home represents your sanctuary. Your peace holds value, and you owe nobody unrestricted access to your life merely because of shared genetics. Sometimes the most compassionate action you can take is saying no, and that choice is perfectly acceptable. I would love to hear your perspective. Have you ever needed to establish boundaries with family members? What was the outcome? Share your experience in the comments section below. If this story connected with you, please click that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with anyone who might benefit from hearing it. Your engagement truly matters and helps this message reach people who need it. Thank you for taking the time to listen to my story, and I genuinely hope you discover the strength to safeguard your own peace regardless of external pressure. Wishing you all courage and clarity in your own journeys.